When I hear the name of this movie, it reminds me of that famous quote from the movie Forrest Gump. Mama says I should never get on the bus with the unfamiliar, but this is the bus to school. Well, I'm Forrest Gump, and I'm Dorothy Harris. Well, I guess that means we're not unfamiliar no more. The Unfamiliar, which is available now on digital streaming services here in the United States, August 21st, and it comes all the way from Dark Matter Studios, which was a connection that I made through gingernutsofhorror.com. Again, it is a great website where you can go to view a bunch of reviews on books, video games, TV shows, and movies, all dealing with the realm of horror, and Dark Matter Studios reached out to me, and this movie sounded very intriguing, and it actually ended up being very intriguing, for the most part. And this film is starring Jemima West and Christopher Dane. British Army doctor Izzy Cormack returns from war to rekindle her relationship with her estranged family. But Izzy notices numerous explicable activities in her house that her husband believes are due to her suffering from PTSD as a consequence of war. Izzy militantly pieces the daunting puzzle together to reveal a terrifying, invisible enemy that has infested her entire family. In a heroic attempt to save her family, she is pulled into a dark underground in Hawaii to explore ancient mythology. Does the film deal with ancient Hawaiian mythology? Yes. Do we explore it, though? No, not really. Let me start off this review by saying, again, I am not the biggest horror guy. I've been liking these screeners that I've been getting through Ginger Nuts of Horror, through my communication with them, so I'm diving into this genre more, and I'm starting to like it more, but I still don't have the big repertoire in my brain, and my big love for this genre yet. So there's a lot of tropes that happen in a lot of these movies that I'm just like, oh, come on, don't go in there. Why are you asking who is there when no one else should be in the house with you? If this movie has an abundance of anything, it is a bunch of horror tropes and a bunch of sub-horror genres all compiled into this one film. We have house invasion, we have possession, we have exorcisms, we have strange religious artifacts that shouldn't be there. We have a weird, creepy black lagoon with a creature that lives inside of it. We even have supernatural elements like the Upside Down from Stranger Things. We basically had the Upside Down here. And of course we have kids that just makes any type of horror film, horror situation, just that much more worse. Because one, they're just going to make situations very, very creepy, because they're going to be staring off into the distance somewhere with that glazed look over their eyes saying like, someone is here. I'm talking with Daddy on the radio. Mostly. Or they're gonna end up doing something very stupid that is gonna wreck the whole plan of our main protagonist that was gonna fix everything. Which kind of happens, but the kid also kind of saves the day. But then also kids kind of don't save the day. There's a lot of twists that happen in here. One minute you think the film is over, and then it is not. And then you think it's over again, and then all of a sudden, no, it is not. And oh, there's kind of a big cliffhanger for an Unfamiliar 2. But I am going to start off with what I really enjoyed about this movie, and that is our lead actress, Jemima West. I hope I'm saying that correctly. If not, I apologize, because you definitely deserve all the praise. You carry the majority of this film on your back, and I think you do an amazing job. She plays an army doctor coming home from the war who may or may not have some type of PTSD. Which actually, let me stop right there and say how cool and progressive this movie is, switching that stereotypical gender role. How many movies have we seen where it's the man coming home from war, and he's struggling, and he can't make a connection with his wife who stayed at home and took care of the kids and supported the family while he was off to war. Here it's the other way around. It's a gender reversal, stereotypically, but it's nice to finally see that on screen. I really appreciate how progressive this movie was with that. Which also played into the subplot of, oh, all of these supernatural things, scary things around the house, they're happening because they're in her mind. Well, because she's a woman, and she's emotional, and she has PTSD from going off to war. No, hun, the kids are all right. Have you taken your pills? Every time they said that line, I'm like, oh, dude, you need to go about that way more subtly than that, dude. If someone is in distress, you don't just flat out ask them, oh, whatever, have you taken your medication? You need to be an active listener, especially when you're in a relationship with someone. You need to listen to them, not just brush them off and say, hey, take your pills and go shut up and lay down. So every time that line happened, I'm like, oh, dude, Check yourself, brother. I think she does a tremendous job of keeping the suspense and portraying this character that we, the audience, definitely 100% get behind. There's not a single bone in her body that I'm just like, she's annoying, I really don't care about this situation. And hell, she's very proactive in this movie. She's not just sitting back and letting whatever supernatural thing that's happening in her home just happen. She's setting up cameras, and she's setting up traps, and she's keeping a lookout of everything. She's doing a good job. She's being a solid soldier here at home. But as the movie unfolds, you just know that there's something here that her family, all the other actors in here, they know something is up. Or at least they know a big secret that they're not letting us know, but they're letting us know that they know, because it's very obvious. Oh, there's a secret here, and something bad's about to happen. Because while she was away at war, her husband took the rest of their family to Hawaii, took a sabbatical to study old Hawaiian mythology. And wouldn't you know it, he picked up a bunch of totems and a bunch of drawings and a bunch of artifacts that are linked to Hawaiian demons. And for those of you that have watched my previous horror movie reviews, especially the movie Midsommar, if you go to another country, if you go to another secluded area by yourself and you start diving into their culture, don't do that, because it never pans out well for you. And her son is showing her all the cool things that Dad brought back from Hawaii. Oh, isn't this cool? Oh, all this demonic drawings and everything. Isn't that cool, Mother? This is where that trope of the stupid children started just getting under my skin. I'm like, oh god, here we go again. Oh, and the kid also has an allergy to bees. Of course, that's gonna come into play eventually here. Probably the funniest moment in this movie. It's not that big of a spoiler, it's just a really funny line. Izzy is under her car doing some repairs, and there's some big suspense, like the car is gonna fall down on her, and the music is totally dropped out, and then her son quickly comes in under the car and just yells, "Hey!" because he got stung, and he needs his EpiPen. out of nowhere! So our two lead actors, West and Dane, I think they do a solid job with this film. Our child actors, they're stereotypical child performances in horror films. Apparently for Harry McMillan-Hunt, this is his very first feature film debut. He was a mixed bag for me. He did some actually pretty good and solid things, and I was actually very impressed. At other points, he just kind of filled that role of the annoying child in a horror film. So it was kind of a 50-50 for me. It wasn't terrible. I enjoyed him, but there were parts where I was like, oh god, get off screen. But he's got a solid future ahead of him. And one of the traps that a lot of horror movies fall into is the overuse of the jump scare and of the crescendoing music at that jump scare. We get a lot of that in this movie, which at first I was falling for it. Yes, whenever a jump scare happened, a little part of me goes, oh god, why did that have to happen? But it happened so much that not even a quarter of the way through the film, I was totally desensitized to it, and it kept happening. But every time it happened, I'm just like, I know what's about to happen. There's nothing new that's going to happen here. Oh, yes, another jump scare. Oh, that was scary. Oh, she rammed her head into a candle. Oh, that's really cool. So there was a lot of reliance on that scare, at least it felt like to me. And I think this movie relied a little too much on misdirection. Some misdirection in film is actually a really good thing. It keeps the audience on their toes and keeps them guessing, hey, what's going to happen next? But there was a lot of misdirection that was happening here, and it felt to me, at least as the audience member, I was catching on being like, okay, I think this is more of just the director and the writer kind of going, I'm just really trying to keep people on their toes, and we're not staying with one sort of plot line, and things aren't really connecting or making sense. Technically, this movie is in a non-linear structure. When it begins, it starts and they're in Hawaii, and there's some exorcism chant thing happening, and then we go back 7 days, where we find Izzy coming home from the war, and none of the supernatural stuff has happened yet. Which is a storytelling device that I like, but I typically see it in television shows, and when we get there, it's usually kind of to misdirect us into kind of what's happening, and it didn't really do that for me here. And we get several horror elements that are a total misdirection. Like, it doesn't make sense as to what the final thing that is happening doesn't connect to at all. And we even have scenes where there is this weird priest that comes in, and it's like, you have a strange aura about you. And we spend a good 10 minutes with this guy that leads to nowhere. It was a character connection that happened, it was a scene that happened, and then the film just kind of totally forgot about it. So I'm just sitting there thinking, why did that even happen in the first place? I know why, it's meant to scare us, but in the long run, it's like, what was the purpose of that? Let's just continue on this main plot line, please. The film is shot very well, though. I was very impressed and very happy with the cinematography. The tracking shots, the different angles in the house, the shots that were happening in the Black Lagoon, I loved. I thought they were beautiful. And the cinematography was emphasized by a tremendous score that we have here. At least that final song, when we get to the climax, I thought it was a beautiful piece, and it's definitely something that I wish I could download. I'll probably search for it after doing this review. I want to download it and have it on my computer when I'm at work. It's just a nice, climactic, epic, peaceful music. This film really does have some great things. It also has some stereotypical, not so great things that make no sense in the grand scheme of the whole story. It's really hard not going into spoilers, because I do want people to watch this, if only for just once, because it was a good solid time. It's only an hour and a half, which is a great length for a horror film, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. I love our lead actors. I love the gender reversal of Izzy coming home from work as opposed to a man stereotypically coming home from work and being like, hey, honey, I'm home. Let's make another baby. It's on digital streaming services right now. It is definitely worth a watch, and I definitely recommend it. I'm gonna give The Unfamiliar 3.5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I am above average.
Alright everyone, now comes my favorite part of my videos where I pick which movie I'm going to be watching next, and we are going to be wrapping up our recommendation summer, kind of clear out all these recommendations that I have, and we are going to be wrapping up with our final recommendations for the summer. This next one comes from a good friend of mine, Christian Swagger. He recommended a film called The Fanatic, starring John Travolta, which came out last year, I believe, and from what I've read and from what I have watched in regards to reviews, this is like The Room, but in 2019 and with John Travolta. Directed from the guy from Limp Bizkit, I think? I don't know. Everything I've read says it's terrible, but I have a feeling that it's so terrible that it's amazing. So I'm definitely excited to check that out. Thank you very much, Kristen, for the recommendation. If any of you have recommendations of films that you want me to review on here, leave a recommendation below this video, or go to my Facebook page, my Instagram, or my Twitter. Leave your recommendation there. If I have access to it, I will watch, review it, and give you a shout out on the channel. And if you want to support me and help me grow this channel into something bigger than what it's been for the last 3 years, you can make a PayPal donation on the main page of my YouTube channel. Any size donation will do, and if you want to leave a movie that you desperately want me to review, if you leave it with your donation, I will expedite it to the front of the line and review it as quickly as possible. So guys, have you seen The Unfamiliar? What did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you saw here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so you know the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time with my review of The Fanatic. So in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.